Welcome to Tradecast, the podcast where we provide expert insights and share actionable tips and strategies to help you improve your trading skills. Join us as we navigate the complexities of the markets and uncover the secrets to successful trading. Right, Dorwood, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, to be honest. Not too bad. I know there's not been an episode for a while, and the reason behind that is we were just too busy, just driving our Lambos about. To be honest,
Yeah.
there's just too many of them to drive. So the weather was good. The weather was good, and I was like, I could record it, but instead, I'd rather be driving my orange Lambo today.
Yeah, I
Um,
actually got locked into my spare room because I had too many Rolex boxes up against it. I couldn't get out and I was trapped there for about a
I
month.
hate when that happens.
Yeah,
I hate when that happens. I have to call my butler and be like, "Come sort this out, man." It's a
yeah.
shame, but don't worry, guys. We'll make it up to everyone. If you email us, we'll buy you a Rolex for each week that we've missed. And I've heard Callum is going to do that himself.
Quick disclaimer, that is not truth.
That is absolutely true. So, guys, get your emails into Callum at callumwillbuyyourrolex.gmail.com and he'll get it to you.
Yeah, maybe.
You're going to be seeing a few emails from me soon.
Yeah, so I know last week that you mentioned you had a pretty big week. In general, since, because obviously with us not being on for a while, people don't know, but how's the trading been?
To be honest, it's been going well. Like you mentioned last week, I had a good week, a very good week, I think. The whole year has been quite a good start to the year. To be honest, a bit slow, I'd say, but last week it really picked up, and I think I had probably a few of my best trades ever. I still had a loss last week because, of course, why you're not going to have a loss.
Wait, I
But
thought you didn't lose at all.
sorry, I don't lose, guys. Don't leave the podcast. I didn't lose. I just had a brain fart. Is all. I don't lose. But yeah, I can see what these SMC traders feel making 10R every day now because I made it on that one trade. Probably the only trade in my career where I've made 10R and it felt amazing.
Yeah,
So these SMC traders must be like constantly high on like dopamine and stuff, hitting 10R every day.
nice feeling, eh?
Yeah,
What was it
yeah.
on? It was on the DAX.
Yeah, it was on your market, to be honest. Your
My
market's
market.
been treating me well. Yeah, the DAX. It was just a liquidity probe, to be honest. It wasn't like a very textbook play. It was more a play of hunch. Probably a play I wouldn't have been able to carry out or manage years ago because it required quite a bit of management. But yeah, it just worked out nicely, thankfully.
Nice, very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not been going too bad for me. I recently just got funded with another account, my forex funds.
Yep. He was actually on a beach in Portugal while
Yeah,
while that hit TP.
literally. Do you know what it is? I actually couldn't close the trade in time because I had a cocktail in one hand and a cigar on the other, and I was trying to press the button, but yeah,
You've got to use your nose in them situations. I've had that a few times. Just use your nose and hope you don't accidentally click the wrong button.
but yeah, positive things going forward so far. So yeah, looking forward to it. I mean,
Yeah.
I know you've been trading for quite a bit longer than I have, but it's like really nice to sort of feel as if like you're finally getting somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like now I'm
It just sort of
finally
starts to
starting
click.
to see results. Yeah, it's now it starts to click. It's just sort of like like I can just load up a chart and I kind of know what I'm looking for, and it's just like if this happens, I do this. If this doesn't happen, then I don't trade, sort of thing. Because
Yeah.
I don't know, I feel like in the past it's kind of been like a lot of confusion, not confusion, just kind of like fog and sort of cloudiness,
Yeah. Lack of confidence, would
lack
you
of
say?
confidence. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'd say this is probably I've tried like everybody jump from strategy to strategy in the past.
Yeah.
And literally, like, this is the strategy that I found some guy trading on YouTube where he had like 20 views, and I was just like, "Oh, that looks like it could work." So I went and back tested it, and like back tested it quite a bit, but I changed a few things here and there, and it's
Mhm.
literally what I've had the most success with. So it just goes to show that you don't need to be paying like loads of people loads of money for courses X, Y, Z. But yeah, hopefully, see what the future holds. I'll keep you all
Yeah.
posted.
So, not to start interviewing you, but what? Because obviously, this feeling that you've had is quite recent.
Uh-huh.
What would you say has been like the few key things that have happened over the past few weeks, which has made you feel like you know what you're doing?
It's kind of just like building a strategy and then knowing what the drawdown's going to be, knowing what sort of profits you can expect from it. Obviously, you're never going to fully know because it could just stop working tomorrow pretty much. But based off statistics in the past, I kind of like know. So like, I remember when I first got the funded account, I went in like a few hour drawdown. And if I hadn't done all the backtesting and got all the statistics, that would have stressed me out. I probably would have like started strategy hopping again, thinking, this doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I think it's more just the fact that I've like actually really sort of nailed it on the statistics and backtesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been sort of, I guess the statistics is what has given you the confidence to just continue
Yeah.
even through drawdown, which I guess is quite a big step.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's actually just like, I don't know, being at the markets every day, trading every day, sort of doing it and seeing it. That's the best teacher, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I remember when I sort of was going through that moment as well, where because of my data, I knew sort of you could go on the market and you'd know sort of where you're sat, and if you're going through drawdown, you
Uh-huh.
could sort of be like, okay, this is just a natural period for my trading. And then I think the next moment like that really happens is just where you've been trading for so long that you just get used to drawdown and you sort of start like knowing the trends of drawdown, for lack
Mm-hmm.
of better words, and you just know, like, if you get into drawdown, you don't even have to get your confidence from your statistics because you've got your confidence from your experience. And
Yeah.
it's, I think it's your experience of being in drawdown and getting out of drawdown. I think that's the next step, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of just having the confidence in yourself and your own sort of like intuition and your own backtesting. But I mean, it's still early doors, so
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
don't want to speak too soon. I'll probably go on like a 5 month losing streak after saying this. So,
We don't lose. Remember, when people
oh,
will
actually,
click
yeah,
off
yeah.
the podcast, we don't lose.
I'll just edit that bit out. Sorry.
Yeah, edit that out, please. Thank you very much.
So, have you seen what's going on with all the crypto exchanges at the moment?
Yeah, they've been getting notices fired left, right, and center, like pretty much all of them.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. Well, it kind of seems as if like the American government have literally just got it in for all the crypto exchanges. Anything to do with crypto, like, well, you can understand why they would hate it, but
Yeah, I see what you mean. Like they just, I think they're cracking down a lot, but I think you could almost see it coming. Maybe not in the way that it has, but if you actually look at when Bitcoin was very popular, not just among traders but among everyone, and if you looked at the way price was moving, the differences between exchanges and like not being able to withdraw when you wanted to withdraw because of lack of liquidity, you knew clearly there was something going wrong in in the operation of these companies, and it was sort of from that moment I knew that these companies aren't maybe operating in the most efficient or the most regulated way, for lack of better words. And so you knew something was going to happen. I didn't think it'd be this delayed or it'd be as public as it has been. I know the CEO of Binance said on Twitter that if only one company gets a lawsuit, then fair enough, it's probably that one company doing something wrong. But if all the companies are getting lawsuits, then it's probably not the company's fault. It's probably just the market,
mhm.
which I think is fair to a certain degree because if there's no regulations for it, naturally to be competitive as a company, you have to do what every other company is doing, otherwise you can't survive. So they were just doing what they had to do to be competitive, which I think any business has a right to do. So I think some of the ownership is also on the regulators to have acted quicker, almost.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be pretty interesting to see how it all unfolds in the future. I know
Yeah.
there's like a lot of people, do you know, when crypto did go through that big bull run, everyone was like, yeah, it's literally, this is it. This is going to be like the new currency. Like, we're going to get rid of the pound, the euro. It's just going to be crypto.
Yeah.
And then stuff like this is happening. Just out of curiosity, like, what's your sort of thoughts on crypto? I mean, I don't really personally know that much about it. I owned a little bit of XRP a while ago and
Yeah.
sold out of it for a little profit, but other than that, I've never really been that exposed to it.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm the same as you. I've not done a whole lot of research into crypto. Like people always tell you about the benefits it has of the fact that you can have money anywhere, it's gold anywhere. I sort of take it in one ear and out of the other. I don't know if that's ignorance on my part, but I don't personally understand it. And it's also because I've not looked into it a whole lot, and the people who are telling me have looked into a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
Now, regardless of that, I still have some money in it. When I say some, I mean I had money in it before it broke the 20K. When the high was 20K, I had money in before that, and then
So that's where the
after
Lambos come from.
that's where the Lambos and the Rolexes come
Ah,
from.
makes
Yeah, this is
sense
just
now.
a front. This is just a front, guys. So yeah, and then since that, I've just been a little bit here and there, but most of my position size is pre 20K, and then after that, I just let it do its own thing because I realized I really don't know much about this market, and this market is very erratic. And although there's a lot of money to be made, I think there's also a lot of money to be lost, and I'd rather leverage my money elsewhere. It'd
Absolutely.
be interesting to see how it plays out. I know for a fact that I'm missing out. I'm leaving money on the table, but you can't make money from everything.
Very true. So I think that brings us on to our next guest. So we had the pleasure of interviewing James Bruce. And for those of you who don't know, James is a full-time trader from South Africa, and he's quite active in the ASFX community, Austin Silver. I know it's like a huge community online. Lots of profitable traders come from that community. And it was really good chat, wasn't it?
Yeah, I just really enjoyed just hearing his accent. To be honest, I didn't really pay attention to what he was saying. I was just there for the accent. But overall, he seemed very very sound. He'd been trading for a few years. I think he's gone through quite a bit in trading and in life in general, and he seems very level headed. He seems to know what he wants and what he's doing, and he's quite established and successful from what we gathered. So yeah, even from speaking to him, I myself learned a lot and about how he sort of views the market and how he might use statistics and stuff. So yeah, he's a really, really sound guy. And yeah, like I mentioned, I learned a lot from him.
I hope you guys enjoy the episode and stay tuned for more in the future.
Tradecast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Tradecast. Today, we're joined by James Bruce, and James is a trader with the ASFX community from South Africa. How are you doing, James? All right?
Yeah, what's up, guys? I appreciate being on the podcast.
Nah, no worries at all. Good to have you on. First things first, I was just wondering, would you be able to tell us how you got started in trading and maybe tell us a bit about your childhood and sort of like what sparked the interest?
Sure. So I was brought up in a family that of businessmen. My dad's a chartered accountant, and he runs his own practice. So I was always big into business. I'd say not from a young age. I wouldn't say that, but from about high school days. Sport was my first love. So after school, I signed a professional rugby contract with the Sharks in Durban, South Africa. I was originally from East London in the Eastern Cape, South Africa. And I signed a professional rugby contract with the Sharks for 3 years out of school. And that at the same time, I was studying towards my Bachelor of Commerce degree in financial management, which I completed at the end of 2020. But during the time of my professional rugby days, I tore my ACL, which is my cruciate ligament in my left knee, a meniscus in my left knee. And I think that's really where, kind of like the business side came out more prominently. My dad always pushed me to do what I love. He never told me, what to get into or what career path to do. So I realized, there's life after rugby. And once I realized that, and I was sitting with a torn ACL after my operation, I realized, that there's a lot more to life than just sports. So that's when I found the financial markets. This was in August of 2018. And yeah, that's where the love for financial markets sparked off. I realized that as everyone kind of gets into, you make a little bit of money and you think it's easy, and you're just going to be a multi-millionaire by the age of 25. But that's not the case. It took me about a year and a half to find my consistency. I found Austin and ASFX in about January of 2020. Maybe end of 2019, and that's where my trading kind of kicked off. I took multiple courses and finished my degree. After I finished my degree, I went full time in 2021.
So how come is it that once completing a degree, you decided to sort of go down the route of trading yourself rather than like applying for, say, investment banks or hedge funds or something along those lines?
Yeah, good question. So I was fortunate enough that I had some capital saved of my own, not a lot, about five to $10,000, and basically what happened was I had proven that I could trade that consistently over a period of time, about 6 months, and I had personal equity backing from private investors, well over $100,000. So I was fortunate enough to go into trading full time because I had that personal backing, private equity backing. So I didn't know what else to do. I love trading financial markets. I saw this as my career. I didn't want to work a 9 to 5. I can be quite, I can't sit down at an office for 5-8 hours a day. So let alone, even 30 minutes. So yeah, that was my plan. And I knew that I believed in myself and I was going to do this. And other people believed in me. Yeah.
Yeah, very nice. I can definitely agree with you on the not wanting to sit down in a boring, mundane office for 6 to 8 hours a day. Definitely. So how long were you trading for before you decided to sort of take on outside capital?
Sure. So I'd been trading for, at that time, well over 2 years at that point, about 2.5, 3 years, and consistently for about 6 months to a year. And that's when I approached some private equity people, and they started off small with $10,000, and I proved them with that over 3 months, and they gave me more, and I proved them with that, and eventually the pot got bigger.
Very nice. So I'm just curious, because it's South Africa that you live in. Is there much of like a community within South Africa, like other traders from South Africa?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say South Africa there's definitely some good traders coming out of South Africa. But I would say that the traders coming out of South Africa, in my opinion, they're very cliche. Like, put in $100, you try and flip it to $5,000, which obviously for those listening, that's just not going to happen every single day. It's no matter what anyone says, that's just not going to happen every single day. I mean, I would say the community of traders that I found in ASFX, and guys from like the UK and America, there seems to be more legitimate and traders that are actually, they see the long-term vision. But that's where also I think Twitter, I've connected with guys all over the world. Like, two guys that I really, really look up to is Steve Burns and Anthony Credelli. I see Anthony Credelli as kind of like my mentor. We go back and forth on Twitter quite often. And he's been on our podcast as well. We've had the pleasure of speaking to him. So, those guys on Twitter that you find, you don't really get that in a day-to-day basis here in South Africa.
Yeah. Just on the point that you made before, sorry, I forgot to say, taking like outside capital to trade, did that kind of affect your thought process, or, just like affect the way that you traded rather than trading your own money?
Yeah, I wouldn't say so. I know what I can do on the charts. I believed in myself, and I just knew that this was a long-term vision. I knew that if I prove myself now, for many, many years to come, I'm going to be managing, hopefully, I know, multiple millions of dollars one day. So I believed in myself. I know what I can do. And I just was humble enough to always learn each and every single day. I didn't let the moment get to me.
In terms of contacting these private equity people, I think just for the people listening and for myself, what was the sort of detailed process in terms of finding these people, contacting them, and sort of getting started with them?
Sure. So it kind of went a long way. Obviously, my dad has a few contacts being a business owner himself. And I started to show my dad my results in percentage terms. Let's just get that right. Percentages are the only thing that really matters. If you go to a big businessman and show him, I made $10,000 this month, he doesn't really care about that. He wants to know how much, what percent is that? Because $10,000 of $100,000 is 10%, but of $1 million, that's 1%. So in percentage terms, I went with my MyFX book broker reports to my dad, and my dad was like, this is maybe a potential for you to start managing some capital. And that's how it actually was funny. My dad had a guy that he had lost like it was something like 10 million rand, which is in dollar terms like $600,000.
Still heavy.
Yeah,
really bad.
In the market crash, I think towards the end of 2020, beginning of 2021. And my dad was like, well, that guy's, just lost $600,000. Maybe you can prove that you can manage some capital and show him the results, and he won't mind, giving $10,000 and so forth. So that's how it kind of started.
That's awesome. That's really good. I'm just curious, so was there like a point where you had an aha moment? You're like, right, I finally get it now. I've been following all these people on Twitter, reading all the books, doing all the education. Was there like a point where it really just sort of stuck with you?
Yeah, I wouldn't say, I think trading is like a consistent learning process, but I would say the one thing that was like an aha moment where I started to make money, month in, month out, was managing risk. So my bad thing when I first started trading was that I used to overtrade and I used to overposition size. And I would think that the market's going to come back to break even when you lost, you move your stop loss, all the amateur mistakes that we all make. We've all done that,
Classics.
right? Yeah, classics. But when I started to realize that all you got to do is manage risk and let your edge play out over the long term. It doesn't matter what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. More is what you do on a quarterly basis, monthly basis, and also yearly basis.
As well as outside capital from like investors, do you trade any other forms of capital, like personal capital, prop firms, etc.?
Yeah, I trade my personal capital, and then I also trade for prop firms. So when I first took on the private equity capital, they were around, but they weren't as big as they are today. These prop firms, such as FTMO, my forex funds, and all the names, right? They weren't around well, they weren't well known of. Let's put it that way. So once I started to find out about them, more money, big money makes big money, small money makes small money. So I started to tap into that.
And in terms of your trading, do you want to just talk us through your trading journey in terms of sort of what you started off with trading and what strategies almost that you found worked for you?
So I started off. A friend got me into trading that I played rugby with, and he was swing trading. He had been trading. He had a couple of guys courses that he had taken, and he was swing trading on the 1 hour and 4 hour charts, purely currencies, so for the forex market. So that's how I got into it, swing trading on the 1 hour and 4 hour charts. But let's just say that it wasn't too great. What happened was I'd be stuck in positions overnight. And at the time, it wasn't a lot of money. But, when you first get into trading, you start to panic. And the changeover of day for South Africa, the roll-off day. So in the currency market, you have a day where the spreads widen, a certain time of day, the spreads widen. It's just before the Asian session starts, and it's the roll-off day. It goes into the new day. So I'd be stuck in positions, and that's at 12 o'clock at night, South African time, 12 o'clock and 11 p.m. at night. So I'd be waking up from my sleep because I'd have rugby practice the next morning, and I'd be waking up at like 12 at night to check my positions and just no sleep. So that's how I got started. Then I found Austin Silva. After taking multiple courses, I found him on Instagram and Twitter. And I took his courses towards, as I said, end of 2019, beginning of 2020. And he was more of a day trader. I remember the turning point for me when I decided to take his courses. I was buying like GBP USD and he was selling it. And I was like, what? And it like ripped in the opposite direction, like 300 pips or something over like the space of a couple of days. And I was like, man, that's, he's clearly doing something right. So that's where I took his courses, and it was more of a systematic process of having detailed entries and exits, and that's what I needed.
Yeah, I think I think what a lot of new traders don't realize is like simplicity is the most like key thing. Like, your strategy does not need to be super complicated to be effective. I've been following Austin for quite a while now, even though it's not how I trade. I still find all the content great, and it kind of shows like you can still have trades that make 1 or 1.5 or and still be like very profitable.
Yeah, for sure. I trade for purely on a 1-to-1 risk-reward ratio. I trade for 1-to-1 with a higher win rate. So at 1-to-1, you need a 50% win rate to break even. Currently, this year, I'm up around 82% win rate. So that's going to make money long term, right? So you just got to let the math play out. I think too many guys, traders get, especially new traders, get sucked in they need to trade for a 3-to-1 risk-reward ratio, which is nice. But for my personality, I found that if I went up 1 hour, so let's say I was risking 1%, I went up 1% and it turned around and hit my stop loss. I found that more brutal on my mindset than if I went up 1 hour, I took 1 hour and it rips 5 hour. Because if I'm leaving money on the table, it means I'm making money. So I'm not upset with that.
I thought the only way that traders made money is by smart money concepts of like 100 to 1 hour trades.
Oh, yeah. I know. Every day, every pair. No, I resonate with that quite a lot because I trade on the weekly, daily, and hourly time frame. And when I first started, I think because I was new and everyone's drawn into high R trades, I just wanted to get daily trades in for the high R. But the longer I've been trading, the more I realize it's just the hourly trades, the quick 1-to-1, 1-to-1.1, that you're just in and out of. They're the ones that make me the most money, even though I might make 3 or 4 R on one trade. I find over the long run, it's always the hourly trades that make the most money. So yeah, it's a good way of putting that you need to let the numbers play out.
To be fair, it's those the traders I see who trade like the lower risk rewards are the ones who are actually profitable.
Yeah, well, my thought process is that I want to be here for the next 50 years, right? What can I do on a consistent daily basis is I can always get to first base. I'm not trying to hit home runs and go for the big 5R winner. I can consistently hit 1-to-1 on a consistent basis. And I actually just went to gym now, CrossFit, and I was shorting EuroCAD. I used the 50-minute chart and the 1 hour chart. And I came back and it hit my 1-to-1 restored ratio. I was in a stop loss of about 33 pips and it hit my 1-to-1 and it tagged me out for TP. So another thing why I love 1-to-1 is the currency, and I purely trade 4 currency pairs right now. I always chop and change between the 4. So the 4 are EuroCAD, GBP CAD, so pound CAD, pound dollar, and euro yen. I've just found that those with my statistics, so it's always based on statistics. Those would be my 4 best performers. But what I can say about the currencies is that, so I use exponential moving averages, the TDI indicator, Traders Dynamic Index, as well as weekly key levels. So previous week's high and low, current week's high and low. I love those levels. I tend to trade away from those levels, not when the big, there's big buying or volume at those levels, buying or selling volume pressure at those key levels. So I tend to wait for it to either bounce or break through it before trading at those key levels. But what I can tell you is I also use an indicator called ADR, average daily range. And on an average day, if you turn it on, it tells you the amount of pips that each pair moves on an average day. And if you look at that, most of my stop losses are between 20 and 30 pips, right? On an average day, a pair will always move between 20 and 30 pips. So I know that on any day you can get a 1-to-1 risk reward trade, right? Obviously, they're not all going to be winners. That's a fact. But I know that a pair will move 20 to 30 pips on an average day. If you're looking to 4-to-1, 5-to-1, that's sometimes 100 pips. A pair is not always going to move 100 pips on an average day. So you're not always going to be able to get those 5-to-1, trades.
Mm. So I know you touched on it briefly there, but what would be your process in gathering statistics for your strategy? Would you go through and find, say, like the average range and then build a strategy from that? Or would you sort of use TradingView, bar replay, just go through, look for a setup, put it into a spreadsheet, etc., etc.?
Yeah, I use something called Soft4FX. It's purely, I don't know if you can use indices. I've never tested it, but I think you can. But I use it for the currency market.
Yeah, I use that as well.
Yeah, it's like a replay. You know what? It's like a simulator. And I really like that because it's like you're in the live market. So you get to see the P&L. Obviously, it's not real money, but it's flashing before you and you can, it's like a simulator, like an F1 driver gets in the simulator. It's basically the same.
Great piece of software. Yeah, definitely agree. And you can use it with indices as well because my strategy is primarily based on indices and I use that for all my backtesting on it. So I know you touched on it briefly there. I was just wondering, would you be able to kind of talk us through your strategy a little bit? Like, what do you look for? What sort of confluences do you stack up on top of each other? Or
what makes you enter a market?
Yeah, sure. So as I mentioned, I trade based off the 50-minute chart. I love planning my trades the night before. So I'm looking at key levels, as I mentioned, the previous week's high and low, and the current week's high and low after Tuesday's close. So I don't draw the current week's high and low after Monday. I wait for Tuesday's close and I set in the current week's high and low after that. The reason being is I have, from the teachings of also Stacey Burke, I don't know if you've heard of Stacey Burke, but he reckons that, and I've watched many, many hours of him, reckons that after Tuesday, especially in the currency market, after Tuesday is paid out, 80% of the time, one of those current weeks high and low will hold. So if the upside holds of that Monday and Tuesday's close, you'll continue to make new lows. If the downside holds, you'll continue to make new highs. And I like to trade away from those key levels. I don't wait for price bounces. So I trade in trend away from those key levels when price bounces off there, and I look to take the second day play or third day play. So essentially what makes me get into a market is I trade away from those key levels, as I mentioned, and I'm using the exponential moving averages as well as price action. So the EMAs that I love to use are the 8 and 21 exponential moving averages. If price is giving me a bullish engulfing candle off the 21 EMA, I'm looking to enter the market, right, with a stop at recent market structure, high or low, depending if you're buying and selling. So that's essentially, it's pretty simple what I use to get in the market. It's not, rocket science. It's just, I've got repeatable process that I do. I plan my trades the night before. So if like last night, I was already looking at EuroCAD shorts before the market closes. I'm already planning what I'm doing the next day. I find that this helps me a lot because I predominantly trade London session. I did catch EuroCAD today during the New York session because nothing happened on it during the London session. But I already know when I'm coming to the desk the next day what my game plan is. It's kind of like a rugby plan in essence, a rugby tactic strategy. You know how you want to play against the one team because you've watched film and that, and you've planned, so you know how you're going to play against them. You're going to kick more. Maybe they have poor wingers. You're going to kick deep. It's the same in trading. So you know what you want to do the next day. I know I want to be shorting EuroCAD. I just got to wait for my timing, my probabilities, and wait for that candle formation of the 21 EMA with a bearish market structure, and I'm in.
That's quite interesting, to be honest, because in my strategy, I incorporate the weekly open as well, and I think we're using the same statistic in a different way, which is very interesting because the way I use it is on Tuesday. So when the week opens and price moves away on the Monday, it's most likely gonna tag it again on the Tuesday, like with a 70% probability plus on most pairs, and that's raw data. And so it's quite interesting to hear how you use it differently because I've never thought of using it like that at all, or thinking of it in that way.
Yeah, I will credit Stacey Burke for that. I've watched a lot of his teachings, and it really, really does make sense. It puts context to my entry. So I'm not just taking every trade that bounces off the 21 EMA. I'm taking trades that are bouncing off those levels, and then I'm taking the second day play. So, for example, if a trade is at last week's highs or this week's highs on a Thursday or Friday, let's say on a Thursday, I'll rather wait. I'm not going to look to trade it there because price can be choppy those days. I'll rather look for price to bounce off those key levels, and I'll come and trade it the next day as a second day play continuation. If you look at EuroCAD today, so today is the 1st of June. If you look at EuroCAD yesterday, it bounced off a key level of previous week's lows, dropped down yesterday. Today, during the London session, it pulled up into last week's lows, previous week's lows, and bounced off there, off the 200 EMA and today's pivot point, and gave me a nice entry off the 21 EMA, and I was in.
So would you say that your strategy is like, you've learned most of the things that you know from the ASFX community? Have you sort of like incorporated a lot of your own things into a strategy and kind of like developed your own, or?
Yeah, I would say everything I've learned in how I trade right now comes from Austin and his system. Everything I do, it has the basis, the foundation is from Austin, ASFX. But as you know, as a trader, you're always wanting and willing to learn more. For the traders that are going to make multiple millions of dollars a year, I always like to learn from those guys because that's where I know I will be in the next 5 to 10 years. And I love learning their mindset, and they're always willing to learn. If some guy comes to them with a strategy that's clearly working, and you got to find how can you incorporate it and use it into your system. And that's sort of kind of done with, Stacey Burke's teachings, Anthony Credelli with the Anchored View app, and that sort of things.
Very nice. I'm not familiar with those traders that you mentioned, but I definitely will be going to check them out.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm just going to touch back on prop firms. How much would you say that trading prop firm capital has sort of like boosted your trading game in general? Like, where do you think you would be if prop firms weren't as big as they are now?
Yeah, I'd say 10x mark trading, right? Prop firms, you can be trading a $200,000, $400,000 account to make 5% in a month, and that's $20,000, and you take home 80% of the payout. So it's really, really it's amazing what these prop firms in the day and age that we're living in now. If you're not making use of them, I think that you're being closed-minded.
Definitely agree with that. Just curious, what prop firms would you say are like your go-to prop firms? Because I know there's a lot of really kind of dodgy ones out there.
Well, right now I'm funded with three prop firms. I'm funded with FTMO, I'm funded with my forex funds, and I'm funded with Funded Engineer, which is relatively new. I know one of the guys on Twitter. So those are the three that I'm currently funded with, but there's new ones popping up every single day, right? The Funded Trader, there's new ones coming up every single day. So I think for me, you just got to do your due diligence. Every rules, some prop firms are more lenient than others. Some give you like time extensions, such as my forex funds. If you up like 6% after the first month or 4% after the first month, they'll give you like a time extension. So you get another month to complete the phase one. So I think just do your due diligence and find one that suits you.
Yeah. What would you, because with a lot of these prop firms, there are challenges. They're all different and similar in ways, and most of them will involve a time constraint, which some people might struggle with. What would be your biggest advice to people who know they're consistent but might struggle in passing the challenge for a prop firm?
Yeah, good question. Go for a one with no time limit. I've got guys that I work with on a daily basis that are working full time. They don't have time to watch the markets, sometimes every day. So the time constrained ones will be quite tough. So I know there's firms such as Surge Trader, Funded Engineer. Those ones, I rate the ones with the outer time constraints will be better off for you guys. I think also, in my opinion, once you've funded, you have no time limit as well. So it is a bit of a tough one to go for one with a time constraint if you're not willing to be aggressive. or if you don't have money to just throw challenges, I would go for one without a time limit.
Yeah, well, I personally use my forex funds at the minute. I've just got a fund account in those, and it's absolutely no complaints whatsoever. But I also had one with it was like a new up and coming prop firm. I'm not going to name the name, but I found that the slippage and the spreads were they were pretty much untradeable. Like it was like I was turning a profitable strategy into not making money. I'm just wondering, have you sort of stumbled across many of these like firms yourself, or like put any money into a firm and then found out pretty much the same thing?
So I won't name the name as well, but I have found that. So I've had no problems with the three that I'm funded with, my Forex Funds, Funded Engineer, and FTMO. My payouts, I take my payouts in crypto. They hit my bank account sometimes after requesting the payout in 45 minutes. It's actually sometimes ridiculous how quick it is. So yeah, it really is. So big ups to them. They do a good job of that. So they just got to continue doing that. But I have experienced what you're talking about, like slippage of that. So I was taking a challenge with a firm, and I remember I use a trade copier, by the way. So I use a trade copier to manage my different accounts, private investor, personal, and funded accounts, as well as when I'm taking challenge accounts. So I can sometimes not trade on one account because maybe I want to be a little bit more aggressive today, or I can change the risk. I can, diversify my portfolio. Like let's say I'm up 3% on a funded account. I might just wait for the end of the month after the first week, and I might just wait for the end of the month and take that payout. But the one firm, I was in a trade on multiple accounts across from personal accounts to other funded accounts, and that all of a sudden the server just stopped working, and it just was frozen essentially. Yeah.
Okay, it seemed like you've got quite a few accounts and obviously quite a few payouts that happen throughout the month. For people who might have just passed challenges or early on in their profitability in trading, how do you manage your money in the sense of your payouts, and how do you decide what to pay yourself? Do you decide on a monthly basis, annually basis, and what would you recommend to someone who's just started off, trading funded accounts or their own capital, and are making money?
Yeah, very good question. I think don't get caught up in the hype of guys getting these $20,000, $30,000 payouts every month. It's just not going to happen. If you're trading a $200,000 trading account, which is big money for anyone, that's 10% of that a month. So that's unrealistic, unsustainable, and it's just not going to work over the long term. What I would advise is if you're asking for what a consistent monthly gain is on average, I would say between 2 and 5% per month. Looking to pay myself out on each account is very, very sustainable over the long term.
I know you briefly touched on, you said you take your withdrawals in crypto. Is that something that you heavily invest in, or something that you have a lot of belief in the long term?
I don't think they're going away anytime soon. I think they're definitely going to be in my personal opinion, I think Bitcoin will hit $100,000 in our lifetime, in my lifetime. But it's not something that I'm heavily invested in. It's like home run money. I've left in there. I think my average price that I'm in at is about 20,000. I have a little bit of capital that I leave in there when I get payouts and that, but I'm not heavily into crypto. I'm not like a crypto guru or anything like that. I do see its purpose, but yeah, not as I said, just something I'll leave in there. If it goes up, which I do believe it will go in the long term, then because I see the purpose of it, then so be it.
Mm-hmm. So are you mainly focused on like the main sort of crypto coins, Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc., or do you ever sort of like take a bit of a punt on like a meme coin or something a bit more volatile and high risk?
I've never done that, to be honest. Yeah, I've never done that. I've only ever invested in Bitcoin and Ethereum. Those are the only two that I've ever bought. And one other that I have bought was Solana. But besides those three, I haven't done any else.
Yeah, I've not done any of that either, and I've got a funny story because I was out with a friend who owns a business, and we were just eating, and he randomly put a good amount of money into Dogecoin, and this was like at the time it was going mental, and I was massively against it. I was like, you don't want to be doing that because you could literally lose it all and you wouldn't realize because you put quite a good sum in. And a few minutes later, he was up a mad amount on his money, and I was just sitting there like, damn, he's risked everything, but he's made it. So you can't. It's an odd one because you only ever really hear of the people who make loads of money, and the people who lose money. You rarely ever hear of them when they put money into these coins.
Did you ever hear about that guy who he put a small amount of money into I think it was Dogecoin as well, and he was up like ridiculous amounts, like a few million, and literally lost it all within like the same like a couple of days.
I do remember that. I think he couldn't pull out because there was like no liquidity to get out or something like that. Yeah.
It's unbelievable. But I know why you want to get paid in crypto. You want to bribe all them police officers in South Africa. That's what it is.
Exactly. That's very, very, very easy to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just on that topic, I don't suppose you invest in like stocks, ETFs, anything else other like outside of crypto?
So that's actually a good question. I don't. I've only actually bought. I think it was. I've bought 2 or 3 stocks in my lifetime over the years. I've actually never really been heavily invested into stocks, simply because the JSE, so the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, is the market here in South Africa. It just doesn't have great volume and liquidity. Like the the businesses in South Africa, like the only businesses maybe I'd invest in is like the petrol companies, oil companies. But we have great natural resources here, but I've just never have done so on the South African market. I have purchased Tesla stock before. I've purchased Amazon and I've purchased Google stock before. And it was simply no technical analysis involved, just buy and hold. And I sold for small profit.
Yeah, Tesla. Funny story on that. When I first got into trading a good few years ago, I think it was still like a demo account, and it was Tesla the first thing that came up because it was in the news loads and everyone was talking about it. And I'd been looking at a few things like baby pips and like free forms and stuff like that. And I've spoken to Darwin about this before. It was literally like the most perfect head and shoulders you would ever seen in your entire life. And it literally broke the neckline, tapped the neckline, and then just shot down. That's when I really got hooked on trading. I was like, this is it. Like literally, I'm gonna be rich.
You can imagine in Lambo, he's just all parked up out in front of his house after that point.
Yeah, stuff the Tesla. You'd be driving a Lambo, selling Tesla stock. But yeah, I think something from the last few minutes talking has been. I read a comment, and before guys always ask me, why do I only trade currencies? And I don't know who the comment was from, but it was definitely not from me. I'm not that smart. I might have a degree, but I'm not that smart. I know what I know, and I know what I don't know. So the comment went like this. He said, "The more you know, the less you diversify." And I think that for me has been big because, Austin tried to get me into trading indices last year, and I ended the year up 64%, right, last year on my personal capital, private investor capital. But I wasn't, I just couldn't trade the indices to save my life. I was down 8% trading the Dow Jones. I was down 3% trading the S&P 500, and I was barely break even trading the NASDAQ. So the more you know, the less you diversify.
Yeah, that's something Tom Dante says a lot as well. He speaks about, because he used to trade in a prop firm in London, and he talks about how some traders were amazing at trading, but then you put them on a market like the DAX because they wanted to be in trades more often, and they'd go from being very profitable to just hitting rock bottom, losing accounts, blowing accounts. So yeah, I think in a way the market, your personality and how you trade does suit certain markets more than others. Like for me, my best and favorite market is the crude market. Just the way I trade, it just works better. So I think everyone will have their own market, and not everyone will be able to trade every market.
I agree with that. That's I remember Tom Dante. I know he's been less active on Twitter this year, but I love Tom Dante. I'm listening to his Chat with Traders podcast and everything like that. But I remember that story. He said there was one guy that was with him in props. He was trading, I think it was the German 30 or DAX, or
the Bund.
He was trading the Bund. That's the one. He was trading the Bund, and he was trading it very, very well. And then he moved over to the DAX, I believe, because he said it was more volatile, can catch bigger moves. And he absolutely blew up, couldn't sustain himself, and had to leave the prop firm. 15, 20 years later, he saw him in London or whatever, in the UK somewhere, and he asked the guy, "What are you doing?" And the guy's like, "No, I'm a multi-million-dollar trader. I trade for a massive fund, my own fund." And he's like, "Oh, nice. What assets do you trade?" He trades the Bund, back to what he was actually trading well. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's just how it is with anything, to be honest. Even if you go in a normal career, you just will be better at some things than others.
It's kind of been like the opposite for me. Like I started in FX and I'd never looked at any indices. And it's only really been like, say, the last 6-8 months-ish, I've been looking at the DAX and the NASDAQ. And it's been the most success I've had in trading so far.
Nice. That's amazing. Yeah, once you find what you trade well, because I think how you trade or what you trade is as important as how you trade it. You have to be trading the right market for you.
Yeah, exactly. So just before we get wrapped up, James, what's in store for you for the future?
Yeah, so I'm for those that don't know, I'm 24 years old. I turned 25 in August, so I'm still relatively young. I might not have any hair, but yeah, it's all gone from trading.
We're all getting there. We're all getting there. Don't worry.
But yeah, I'm still relatively young. I think the big thing for me is that I love trading, and I'm going to be doing this for many, many years to come. But there's a life outside of trading as well. So for me, I love playing golf. I have a partner of 5 years now. So hopefully her and I in the next year or two will get married and start a family. So that's what I'm looking forward to off the desk in the next couple. And then on the desk, just looking to be the best version of myself each day. I really believe that trading is the hardest thing that I will ever do in my lifetime. I've spoken to guys that are married, have children, have completed ultra marathons, stuff like that. They say trading is the hardest thing they've ever done, and they've been trading the markets for 20 years. So I when they speak, I listen. But yeah, I think just continuing to learn and be the best version of myself off the desk as well as, and then that translates to hopefully solid returns on the desk.
Nice, man. Well, thank you very much for coming on. Where would the listeners be able to find you if they wanted to look more into you?
Sure. So you can find me on Twitter at JamesBruce131. That's my Twitter handle. And then, as I mentioned, we also, with Austin, have a podcast called The Day Trading Show. So you can listen to our stuff there. And I'm looking forward to listening to many more of your podcasts as well. So yeah, that's where you can find me and interact with me.
Well, thank you, James. It's been really great having you on. I've learned a lot from you, and it's been good just chatting with you. So yeah, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for coming on, mate. Really appreciate it.
I really appreciate you guys having me on, and I look forward to many more years of seeing your success with the podcast.